I grew up in the bustling city of Kuala Lumpur. My childhood is filled with memories of magical aromas and intense Malaysian flavours that flowed out of my mother's kitchen. While I now call Australia home, my taste buds are still quintessentially Malaysian. Malaysia is the cultural melting pot of Southeast Asia. It's a place where Chinese, Malay and Indian cultures collide to create this unique fusion that is Malaysian cooking. Simple, fast and generally inexpensive. With a little bit of know-how, it's easy to create authentic Malaysian recipes at home. Now, when everyone talks about sambal, they imagine this spicy dish, but it doesn't have to be spicy. True, sambal is made of powdered ingredients, usually involving chili, but you can have lovely aromatic sambal like eggplant, or like what I'm doing today, dried shrimp sambal. Now, this dried shrimp has been soaking in water for about at least 30 minutes to soften it. If you don't like dried shrimp, another alternative you can use is dried scallops. Now, they're a little bit pricier, but if you want sort of a inexpensive version, this is perfect. So what you want to get is this lovely sort of floss-like consistency. Now, this is a great time to sort of talk about woks as well. So if you're getting a new wok, try and season it first. Now, seasoning literally means you're proving the wok so that as you cook, a lot of the things don't stick to it. Now, we're going to put some oil in there. I'm using peanut oil. Of course, if you're allergic to peanuts, don't use peanut oil. You can use things like rice bran oil works really well, vegetable oil, canola oil. I rarely use olive oil in Asian cooking. I do find that it clashes with a lot of the chili and the garlic that I use in terms of flavour. Now this is nice and hot, so we're going to put the shrimps in there. Now this is going to take at least 5 to 10 minutes, and what you want is this deep, intense orange colour, and then we're ready to add the rest of the ingredients. Now, this has turned a lovely colour of dark orange, so we'll just turn it off the heat. Now, the next thing we want to add is the lemongrass. So we want to use this, the white portion of the lemongrass, and this is fantastic. And a good way to know, because sometimes when you use a lemongrass, you don't know when the white sort of ends and when the green starts, and sometimes it just all blend into one. But Mother Nature is fantastic, I think. So if you look at the lemongrass, for instance, you get these purple rings. So when the purple rings sort of stop as you cut, so that means the white part has ended. So you just stop using it there. It's a wonderful thing that my mum taught me once. So you just want to roughly chop this because we're going to put it all in a food processor together with a large brown onion, and we're going to blitz that, and then we're going to add that to the dried shrimp that we just cooked before. Now, this is fantastic. So what it actually does for the entire sort of sambal is sweetens it. So onions are a great sort of sweetener, I think. And the lemongrass give it this nice citrusy zing. And we want to make sure we cook the onions, so probably about 5 to 10 minutes. And the final step is to add the bruised lemongrass stalk, and then we're ready to serve. Now that's almost done. Let's get on to the lemongrass stalks. So with the lemongrass stalk, we've got 2 lovely green stalks here. We'll just trim a little bit off. Do is just grab the pestle and give it a good bruise. And the idea of this is it actually releases the flavour of the lemongrass, and when you stir it through, it's magnificent. A bit of salt to taste and a bit of sugar for balance. Once you've sort of made this dish, you can actually keep it in a jar, in an airtight jar in the fridge for about a week. And what we normally do is, when we want to serve it, we'll just put it in the bowl like so. And you serve it with your favourite curry, your favourite stir-fry, your favourite rice. Believe it or not, I actually have this on toast for breakfast in Malaysia. It's fantastic, I love it. So for your next stir-fry, fried rice or even curry, consider using a dried shrimp sambal for that quintessential Malaysian flavour. Now, something near and dear to my heart is this dish. This is Penang lobak from Penang itself, and we've got Jackie M here showing us how to do it. Hello, Jackie.
Hello, how are you? Now, I've never had lobak until quite recently during my latest travel to Penang, and the reason for that is this dish is usually actually made with pork, but we're going to use chicken today. And I'll get you to throw some chicken in. And all we want to do is throw all the ingredients in there. And yeah, just if you can mince up some garlic and slice up some of these water chestnuts here. And these you can buy at Asian grocery stores, either frozen or in cans, and just use them for your recipe.
They're great. They add a great sort of crunch to the texture, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're beautiful. And the other thing I've got here, this is what we call in Malaysia sengkuang.
Oh, yeah.
But it goes by a few different names. Technically, the name is yam bean, and in America, it's also called jicama.
And it's a root vegetable, yeah?
Yep, and we've got some cut up here beautifully.
They actually taste a little bit like turnip.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering what they taste like, it's a non-offensive sort of taste. And you can add them into your salads. You know, they're really nice.
That's right.
So Jackie, are we using chicken thigh fillets here?
Yep. Chicken thigh fillets, so you can use breast fillets if you like. Chicken thigh fillets is nicer because it's got a little smoother texture. So if you want to toss those in, and we're going to add some slices of onion as well.
Yeah.
And now, one of the key flavors in this particular dish is 5-spice powder, which is very Chinese, right? Yeah. 5-spice powder is Chinese influence, and lobak, of course, like you mentioned earlier, is from Penang, but essentially it's brought over from China really originally, because you'll get people comment online that no, it actually came from China. So there's some crossovers there.
So we're going to add how much of that?
Just a pinch of the 5-spice powder, because a little goes a long way with 5-spice powder, I find. And we're going to add some chicken stock granules. Chicken stock granules, or you can use chicken stock cubes.
Fantastic.
Add maybe about 2 teaspoons of tapioca starch, or you can use cornstarch if you like. That just helps to bind everything together, just take out some of the moisture. Okay, just a pinch of sugar.
Sure. This is great. Yeah. This is one of my favorite dishes. When I used to go to Penang, because my dad's from Penang.
Right.
And when we traveled there, we used to have this for a snack. I love it.
Ah, right. Pinch of salt, okay.
Some pepper?
Some pepper will be perfect. And we're going to add a little bit of egg into this. So I'll get you to crack an egg and beat it up a little bit, and maybe just add about half of that in there. Now, the other thing I want to talk about are bean curd skin, all right? The bean curd is very versatile, and this is one form of bean curd. This is like dried bean curd skin. There's a couple of varieties you can find at Asian grocery stores. This one is flexible, so you don't have to soak it before you use it. If you do get the crispy variety, you just have to soak it in a bit of water before you use it. Okay, so they come in sheets like this. I've just peeled some off. Yeah, so essentially what we're trying to achieve here is kind of like a big glorified spring roll, but using bean curd skin as the wrapper. And I'm just going to heat up some oil in the meantime.
Now, do you want me to add some sauces to this? A bit of soy and sesame, maybe?
Yeah, just a dash of soy and a dash of sesame would be perfect. And sesame oil goes with everything.
Oh, no, I love this oil. It's so fragrant.
Yep.
Right, so this needs to marinate for how long, Jackie?
Ideally about 3 hours in the fridge. And in the meantime, you can kind of like start peeling these apart. And then we're going to cut them into rectangular pieces. Don't let it get exposed to air for too long, otherwise it will start to dry up and crisp up, okay?
So once you buy them, Jackie, how long will they keep for?
Oh, look, you know, before you open it, they'll keep for a while. But if you're not using all of it, which we're not going to today, you need to keep it in like an airtight bag or a sealed bag, otherwise it'll go crispy.
Right, well, I'm going to stick this in the fridge.
Brilliant, yeah. Well, let's get a couple of spoons. I'll show you what to do, and you can do the rest. Now, I've cut these quite narrow, actually, because we want to be able to fry these up quickly. You can make bigger lobak if you want, sort of thing. But these are kind of like the half-size versions.
Right.
So just that, okay. And Just pull that across. Don't worry about not sealing the edges,
Yep.
okay? So you just want to roll it up like a sushi,
Too easy.
okay? And just seal it a little bit.
So that's just using the beaten egg.
Yeah. And then just
Fantastic.
do it for
Okay.
the next ones.
Looks good, Jackie.
It is, it is. It's gonna be great. So I'm just gonna deep fry this, slide them into the wok. Now we wanna fry this up, temperature about 180 degrees, I guess. And you wanna fry it up till it's crispy and brown and they start floating up to the top. Okay, and just move it around a little bit, especially if if you think the flaps are kind of like opening up, just turn them around so that the flap sits on the bottom.
Sure,
Sort of thing.
sure. And I think with this, you don't have to be too precious about the rolling.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
we've seen this, and I've eaten this in Penang, and it's all really sort of, like the flaps, so some of them are open, but they're crispy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the charm of it is so rustic, and,
Yeah.
and it tastes bloody delicious.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks nice and brown, it's ready
Yeah.
to go, I think.
I think so. Thank you. So we're gonna let this drain and then we're gonna cut them into slices, yeah?
Sure.
Okay, and I can turn off the heat. And Alvin, we're gonna make a sauce each.
Sure. Is it a competition?
Hey, why not? I'm always up for one.
Right. What would you like me to make?
Okay, I'll get you to do the easy one, but
Sure.
you're going to make the kind of like a sweet chili dip. And what I need you to do, we've got some ketchup there.
Yep.
And all you need to do is add some chili sauce in there.
So now this is one hot chili sauce that we use because this packs a punch.
Oh, okay, cool. So I've just got some water here. I'm just gonna add a dash of soy sauce in there in the meantime.
Great.
So you've
I'll
got
add
the
some sugar.
Okay. And I've got the thick caramel sauce or thick soy sauce. I'm gonna add a dash of in here as well. And some oyster sauce. And I'm just adding a pinch of 5 spice powder in there.
That's good because it sort of ties together the dish as well
Yeah.
because you remember there's 5 spice in the marinade. And so far there's not a lot of foreign ingredients, like it's really easy to make. So
Yeah.
very accessible sauces from your local grocery store. Be adventurous, try this out. And they make great dipping sauce, not only for this dish, but for your spring rolls, perhaps.
Now this particular sauce is meant to be quite subtle
Right.
and eggy, so
So I'm adding some sesame seeds that's been lightly toasted and also sesame oil.
yep.
Would you like me to
And
add
a
anything
bit of-
else?
If you've got a pinch of salt, does it need salt or you think it's
It's
okay?
fine.
Okay. If you're happy with it,
You trust me?
let me just try it. It's got a bit of life to it, huh?
I love it.
Right, wow.
It's a bit of pinch. Do you want more sugar?
No, it's okay. I think it's
Hey,
great.
good stuff.
Okay.
Right.
But yeah, it is
Sauce
lively.
check. Well, sauce number 1 check.
Okay. So this one, I just want to bring it to a boil.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got some tapioca flour here. You can use corn flour, cornstarch if you like. We're just going to mix it up a little bit.
This is just to thicken it, yeah?
Yep, it's just to thicken it. I'll throw it in now. And once you throw it in, just make sure you stir it nicely, otherwise it'll clump up.
Now, do you want me to start cutting? Are we almost ready to cut?
Yep.
Oh, this is so good. This is so crunchy. That's what we
yeah.
like to hear.
That's right, yeah.
This redefines like spring rolls for me. I think it's so iconically Malaysian with this. It's, it's what you get in street food in
That's
Penang,
right.
and I love it.
That's right, yeah. And this is just thickening up. And one last thing I'm going to add to this is just some egg white, okay? I'm going to turn off the heat and drizzle some egg white in there and mix it up.
So the idea of the egg white is to give it a bit of a texture, or is that as a
it's
thickener
meant
as
to-
well?
Yeah, a bit of both. Yeah, that's
Right.
right. So it gives it this nice slurry texture to the sauce. Okay, let's get this in there.
This is great. Like I would go as far as calling this a Malaysian tapas. To me, it's a sexier version of a spring roll. If you want to impress your guests, you can turn this into an entree, you know, for a dinner party as well. So it's quite versatile.
Yeah.
Well done, Jackie. I can't wait to taste this.
No problems. How do you say happy eating in Hokkien?
Oh, lai jia.
Lai jia.
Now, I love pork belly. I love it so much as a kid. My mum used to call me pork face. Terms of endearment, really. What we want to show you today is super easy caramelized pork belly with chili vinegar. We've got some beautiful pork belly here. Now, what we want to do is we want to just blanch it a little bit. Now, this renders the fat, so it's nice and tasty and tender when you cook it. So we'll just halve this just quickly. Now, with this particular dish, because it's caramelized, we need something sort of sour to sort of cut through the sweetness, and hence the chili vinegar. Again, extremely easy, and I'm sure your family will love it. It, of course, originates from a lot of the Chinese population in Malaysia. They love their pork, and they cook it in so many different ways. Right, so we'll plop this over on the boiling water. So we'll just wait for that to come to the boil, and then we can drain the pork. Now that's come to boil, so let's take the pieces out. Now there's a bit of a Nyonya influence in this as well. So one of the ingredients that I'm using is cinnamon stick and star anise. They're fairly popular in the Nyonya culture. Star anise is, of course, has an aniseed sort of flavour, and cinnamon is just divine, I think. Now we start making the sauce. Fairly basic steps. We just have a few sauces. First of all, we've got the Asian cooking caramel. Love this stuff. It is not as sweet as the name suggests. It's a colorant and it's very thick, so it's very similar to molasses. I love it. And we add this a lot in Malaysian cooking. We use it in fried rice to color the rice. We use it in a lot of our sambal as well, and we include it in some of our rendang too. So we've got some chicken stock here. We're going to bring everything to boil. We've got some hoisin sauce. Now, hoisin sauce, you can get them fairly easily in a lot of the Asian grocery stores or even in your local supermarkets. Sesame oil I'm adding. Now, this is just to give it some fragrance. Love sesame oil. We've got some ginger. That gives it a little bit of zing. A bit of fish sauce. Now, you can see that there's a lot of balancing act when we're actually talking about flavors in Asian cooking. So there's always that salty note, which is the fish sauce, that sweet sort of side of things, which is the hoisin, and a little bit of the caramel. And of course, there's a little bit of the zing as well that we add with ginger. So when we talk about balancing flavors in curries, in stir fries, this is what you need to think about. Very, very easy to do, really. The basic rule is to just have equal amounts of the sweet, salty, and sour note, and then you can adjust through there. So very, very simple. So we're going to put the star anise and the cinnamon stick in there as well. Just give that a mix. So we'll bring this to boil, and what you're going to get is rich, thick sauce to coat that lovely tender pork. So we'll leave that to cook for about 50 minutes under low heat. Now we're going to make the sauce. Again, really, really simple. What we have are fairly basic ingredients that you can find in your local supermarkets or your local Asian grocery store. We've got a bit of soy sauce that we're going to add through. We've got a little bit of rice bran oil. We've got some Chinese rice vinegar. And we're just going to add a little bit of chili. Now, chili gives it that, that spice. Now, if you don't like it too spicy, just de-seed the chili. But I love my chilies, so I'm going to add a little bit. We're going to add some sugar. And just a little bit of fish sauce. We're going to whisk all that together. And that is your chili vinegar. Now, if you don't like it with the sauce, just have the pork on its own, that's fine. But I like it because, as I said before, it really cuts through the sweetness of the pork, and this is perfect. So we'll just wait till the pork gets ready and then we're ready to eat. So you can see the sauce is thick, rich, and caramelly. Pop this on a plate. Now this, I think, is one of my favorite dish, but I love pork, so I'm biased. Always garnish, I think, just to give it a little bit of color. And I love using chili, but if you want something green, you can add coriander leaves. There you go, tender pork, sweet caramel, and chili vinegar. Very indulgent, but so simple.